Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you've managed to stumble your way here. The deepest, darkest reaches of YouTube. Okay, so before we get started, then it would be a good idea for you to watch or listen to the previous video I did, which basically explains a little bit more about this video and the videos going forward. In respect of, it kind of goes through my list, which I don't want to do on all 5 of these battle reports coming up. So yeah, this will be battle report number 1 from the Masters Open last weekend in Walsall, against a guy I've never played before in Tom Tucker, who's taking the same army as me in Saurian Ancients, although a vastly different approach, as we'll see in a second. So, as I've just said, without going through the lists in too much detail, this is a mirror match, but it's not a mirror match in the sense of we've taken exactly the same list. In fact, we've taken pretty opposite lists actually. I've gone for monster stroke combat heavy, whilst he's gone for magic heavy with a kind of a defensive counter-attacky kind of list. So it should be quite good actually. Me coming at him with my 3 big monsters and 2 fast glass cannon flyers in the Ramphadons, supported by the big block of 24 Spear Wielding Saurus. Things for me to watch out for going into this game was his divination magic from his Coatl Lord and his Stygiosaur with Mystic Traveller, which basically boosts his divination magic. Basically his Coatl Lord can cast spells of all types, not just damage, which is the norm, through his Stygiosaur, and it doesn't decrease the range either. So that's something for me to watch out for, and it's something I had planned for. My idea going into this game was to try somehow, I wasn't sure how, to neuter that magic phase, neuter his magic phase by, because it wasn't going to kill the Slam straight off the bat, although that was the end goal, but looking to kill the Stygiosaur as early as possible to try and restrict some of his magic. So we'll see if I can be successful with that or not. Okay, so this is my deployment. We're playing the diagonal deployment and the 2 objective counters, secure targets, 1 there, 1 here. I dropped for turn 1 after seeing that Tom's going to kind of castle in this corner here. You can see he's dropped a couple of things here, I think. I kind of know roughly where he's going to be, which allows me to drop on the front line, which again I thought I was going to do anyway. I'd be surprised if Tom was here, because that would then allow me to hop over the back with these boys. So we kind of go for like this, but with me dropping for 1, I obviously know that he can counter deploy against this guy, but I'm thinking that if I can put enough pressure early doors, kind of with these guys going up here, might force him into a few mistakes. So anyway, we drop for 1. My skinks here are hiding behind the house, but their eyes are solely on this objective here. That they've got no other input into this game at all than trying to claim this this objective here. Yeah, I can't remember where I was up to. So look at the notes. Okay, yeah, this is just his deployment here. So these 2 markers here are my prey scent markers for my Ramphadon. So I prey scent his slam because that basically means any unit this slam goes into, potentially, the prey scent marker moves with him, and the prey scent applies to both him and the unit he's in, which gives my Ramphadons rerolls to hit and an extra D3 attacks each. So it's pretty nasty actually. And yeah, we prey scent his Stygiosaur because of reasons we spoke about earlier. I think I spoke about it. I can't remember. Basically, I want to try and kill this guy, and if I can magic a little bit, a few wounds off this guy, then maybe the Ramphadon's can finish him off. So the prey set mark goes on here. Other than that, he's just pretty much castled in the corner there. So yeah, that's where we're up to with this. 2 cowboys out front, 2 stegs countering my Carno Lord here, and these boys here just looking to throw themselves under the bus as and when required. He's holding his skinks back, I think, as potential bunkers for his slam to go in if required. Yep, so you see me drop for 1. You see he's counter deployed the steg here, which I obviously knew he was going to do. He's looking to vanguard these boys up. I think he vanguards them kind of here. We'll see in future photos. My vanguards, we go over here, really looking to get round this left flank. I know that because I'm taking turn 1, these guys can't charge on turn 1, which obviously also means that they can't be frenzy baited turn 1, so actually push them up, not danger close, but close-ish. Just trying to put some pressure on this flank, and also these guys, remember, have got eyes on the prize here. So my turn 1, we push up. I commit a little bit. In fact, I don't think I move any. I think these guys kind of hold. These guys move back. I didn't see the need to double push with the Ramphadons yet. It's still early doors. This guy pushes to cover this guy here. But this is both a good and a bad play coming up. So this guy doesn't push too hard because he doesn't want to get slammed by a double steg earlier. That would be bad. This guy moves up onto the hill to get a giant bow shot on the Stygiosaur. This guy, my priest here, it's got obviously this guy's like gigantic or towering presence, so he's looking to get Spark of Creation off in the magic phase here. This Stegodon with the engine, he chooses to go with the metal shifting version of the engine on top. Basically, what we're going to do here is metal shift and poison jab one of these to cause a panic test, because he's more than 12 away from the general, who's also the BSB. Only leadership 5, these guys. I mean, yeah, they're rolling cold-blooded, but there's a chance that if I can bugger these guys off, then I can push. I can push around this flank without being inhibited by these clowns here. But the positioning is all wrong, because if I do panic them, they're going to flee in this direction. When really, if I'd have positioned my steg kind of here, because he could have been here, then they're fleeing in this direction, which takes them closer to the board edge. I hadn't realised this at the time, actually. I've just realised this now as I've been uploading these photos and kind of analysing my play. So that would have been better. But anyway, yeah, the thinking here is poison jabs, metal shifting, clear off these guys, and suddenly this flank's exposed without any protection really, because all the Saurus are over here. This is all weak source kind of here. If I can get into the skink, suddenly this steg has to turn and focus on my steg, and then I don't mind if this guy then fails to charge into him, because I don't mind taking one steg to the face, because the council will just go back and kill it, and I've still got Druidism to heal it up. So that's my thinking here. If I can clear this, then nice juicy targets. This guy might have to come. So anyway, yeah, that was my thinking there. Actually works. I think the jabs do nothing because these guys are like hard target. But metal shifting does kill one off, and he does panic, and he flees, panicking these skinks who are out of range of general BSB. And I'm not sure why, but maybe they popped. I don't know, but anyway, for some reason they ended up off the board. Maybe they just ran enough to touch the board. Maybe they did, straight line. Perhaps, maybe, yeah, that's their roll actually. 12, so yeah, 12 touches the board, so they're gone. So although the position of the engine wasn't great, it's actually resulted in something pretty good. If these guys continue to run, then obviously it's a problem, because they can just come back. If they rally, it's a potential problem. If they continue to run, then great. That flank just completely collapsed. So let's see what happens in his turn. For my magic phase, so I'm targeting his Stygiosaur with Spark of Creation, which he dispels, and then Hand of Heaven from this guy, who's a bounce spell on the Stygiosaur again. He dispels that, which just leaves me with enough dice, which I think is 1, to cast Oaken Throne. See, this was my problem with Druidism. It's great. It's the only law really that you can. Well, it's definitely the only law you can take with a priest to keep your monsters alive. But if you push it for turn 1, like, Druidism becomes useless. Only the Oaken Throne is a thing, because everything's fully healed. You don't need the extra wound. You don't necessarily need Healing Waters on the Saurus block, because everything's too far away. It isn't going to charge you. And when people are shooting you, like, usually you can put Healing Waters on these guys and it'll protect from shooting, but everybody's targeting this guy. And he can't benefit from Healing Waters because he's got Fireborn. So he can't get the Fortitude anyway. So you kind of forced into Spark of Creation, Hand of Heaven, which is fine in this game because I had this Stygiosaur as a target, but he dispels them anyway. But we do get Oaken Throne up. His turn 1. Yeah, these guys have rallied, which obviously isn't great. I think they were just in range of BSB, so he did get a reroll and he was able to pass. Everything else just kind of shuffles backwards, gives me like a 21, which is a 12 from the Carnosaur, and then yeah, everything else just kind of shuffles around a bit, but you can't really go any further back into the corner. He goes for, okay, so this is basically a photo of my Skink Priest for some reason, I don't know why. But it's his magic phase. He goes for Unerring Strike and whatever the other one is from Divination on my Carnosaur, and I dispel them both. Possibly one fails to cast. Anyway, yeah, he doesn't get either of the Divination spells off on my Carnosaur. But with his remaining dice, he goes for a Swarm of Insects on the Carno, which he's obviously not great either. He does three bloody wounds on it. I thought Swarm was the lesser of the 3 evils. You kind of leave him to do that, but it's the one that does the most bloody damage. So that's obviously not great, because that means my next magic phase is all about restoring this guy to health, which means I'm not casting Spark of Creation or Hand of Heaven, which, you know, isn't going to fulfill our tactic of trying to kill his Stygiosaur. And then just to make things even worse, his Giant Bow hits the Salamander, does the 3 wounds required and kills it, which isn't a massive loss in and of itself, but it is a chaff piece, which I was just going to throw in front of a Stegodon, so my Carnosaur can at least get a charge on. But with this guy gone, that kind of opens up the middle of the field a little bit for him. So my turn 2 here. So with this flank kind of collapsed a little bit, I get a little bit braver with the Carnosaur, just trying to pull one of these Stegodons away, which will free this Stegodon up to get stuck in over here. This guy here moves up to within 9 to get some metal shifting off on his Old Blood here, and everything else just sort of pushes up. These guys here fail a frenzy check, and I have to declare a charge here, but they fail it. I can't remember if they're declaring charge. I think they're declaring charge on this guy actually, but they fail and they kind of stumble over here. But again, this is another. Well, this is my first example of some rusty bad play. So knowing that they failed the charge and have ended up here, what I should have done is set up some counter charges with the Ramphadons and the Old Blood. But I think my concentration's not waning, but it's all. I'm still thinking about trying to kill this guy, because this Divination and Swarm of Insects have just absolutely wrecked my Carnosaur. So my focus is kind of on, right, okay, Giant Bow, Spark of Creation, Hand of Heaven again. My mind isn't thinking about this side of the board at this point when it should be, because this isn't such a bad thing, because the overrun's taking them, you know, if they charge next turn, the overrun's taking them this way, which isn't towards my battle line. So it's not, they haven't actually ended up in a bad position here. But these guys here should be kind of more like that. Their front should be more like that, so they're covering the overrun. And this guy is looking this way, but he should be looking more this way to kind of cover, you know, cover the overrun again. But he's not. So that bad situation of failing the charge could have turned into a good situation, but poor play. Again, like I said in a couple of slides ago, I'm kind of forced into druidism for this phase to get the wounds back. Looking at this, Tom must have had a bad dispelling phase here, because I've got healing waters for a 4-up, because remember I'm on the throne. So you get a 4-up fortitude on the steg, and I get summer growth off on the Carnosaur with the attribute. That's 2 wounds back on him this turn, so pretty good. But no spark, no Hand of Heaven, so no damage on the Stygiosaur this turn. Okay, so his turn 2, he charges the Stegodon with a long bomb, which I'm not too bothered about, because we've got a 4-up fortitude. So with a little bit of luck, I can actually tank this one out, and at strength 6 and some lucky skink shots, I can maybe cause a wound and get a push. Then we've got a counter, and we've, you know, if we get the counter charge, we kill off an Old Blood, and we're still nice and secure over here on the right. He takes the charge into the he elects to charge into the Ramphadons with both. I think in his magic phase as well, he gets a buff off of some description, maybe Savage Fury actually. No, it won't be Savage Fury. It'll be something from Divination. I don't know. I don't know the deck too well, but he gets a buff off in his phase, and you can see here this guy's not covering the overrun off at all. The overrun will take him here somewhere, and he's out of arc. So that was poor positioning on my part here. For his turn 2, he just shuffles back into this little corner here, looking for more divination to take off my Old Blood over here, so that he can push out from this position and kind of spring forward from here. Islam's moved out the unit as well. Yeah, I can't remember exactly what happens here. Obviously, I've done a wound to him, which is not unlikely with 4 strength 6 attacks. I think he just wins by 1 and runs me down, which I'm a little bit miffed at, but you know, these things do happen. So yeah, even with a 4-up fortitude, it's not enough, and the old blood goes through, runs him down. Obviously, this guy doesn't have any sight on this guy now, so he's well out of sight. Little Skinky Winky hiding behind the ruins there as well. Here you'll see the poor positioning, so didn't cover the overrun here, but he does elect to not overrun with his Old Blood. So he's offering me front to front Old Blood off, but what Tom I think failed to see was my Ripperdactyls here. With him not overrunning, my Ramphadons, beg your pardon, do have a flank charge on this guy next turn, which I do take. I missed a few photos here, but these guys did declare a charge on the Old Blood, and with a few lethal strikes, they take him out without even taking any hits back. They strike first, they lethal strike, and he's dead. Okay, so this is kind of a combined magic and shooting phase. So with Spark of Creation and Giant Bow, we're not quite lucky enough to kill him. He's got 1 wound left. So I'm going to have to survive another magic phase from the Stygiosaur, but at least it's no longer a combat threat, apart from the breath weapon obviously, but with 1 wound remaining, and he doesn't have a way of regaining that wound back. That guy's basically out the game, but for magic. Yeah, so my Old Blood, these guys charged his Old Blood, won and reformed. My Old Blood, who was kind of stood here, if you remember, moved up to block this Unitosaurus off, because what I don't want to do is let him come and claim the objective. My skinks are over here, kind of off the slide, out of photo. If he can hold these guys up here, then my skinks win this objective. And I'm pretty confident that my Old Blood can hold these boys up, like not a problem, meaning I win objective 2. And at the minute, in the other objective number 1, he's not even challenging for that. So at the minute, I'm sort of looking real good on the objective front. His turn 3, he moves even further back into the corner. Slan now super exposed, but he's jumped out of the unit so that he can divvy my Carnosaur, who's kind of moved up here in my previous turn. But he's chaffed him up. There's a better photo in a second. He's chaffed up my Carnosaur here with the pterodons. And yeah, everything else just kind of castles in this corner looking to spring out. At the minute, I think Tom's just thinking about kill the Carnosaur, then he can move forward. Until the Carnosaur's dead, he's kind of hemmed back. In his movement phase, yeah, you can see my skinks are moving on to the objective, or will be soon. They didn't want to push too early. There was no need to commit, so they kind of hung back, and now they're just starting to spring forward. He's given me a rear charge here from the Old Blood in my turn coming up, which I'll gladly take. Okay, so here's a better picture of the chaff. Also, I've lost 3 more wounds. Actually, the giant bow, I think it was a giant bow who shot me. Maybe it was a bit of divvy magic, and a bit of giant bow knocks me down to 2. Which means that the druid's got to go mad next turn to try and get some wounds back on this guy. But the problem is his Old Blood on raptors down there kind of covering my skink off, so my skink can't just make a mad rush to get within 12 to get the attribute off. So this Carnosaur's kind of up here on the right flank on his own a little bit. But yeah, looking back at this photo here, okay, so he's chaffed me up, but he's also chaffed himself up. Like that steg there can't fit through to hit the front of my Carnosaur as it stands, right? So we'll discuss it in a second. So here's a better picture, right? I'm in prime position here. If you look at the table, I pretty much own this table. He's pushed his Saurus up to speed bump me a little bit, but there's going to be a flank, charge. These guys are dead, right? Absolutely dead. This guy's a little bit of a problem. He's moved him up here. Yeah, my priests jumped back up here in here. He's chaffed me up here, but as you can see, he can't really pivot and get into the front because of the position in here. Or maybe he can actually. Yeah, maybe he can. Maybe I didn't really have an option. See, I don't really know the rules very well. Maybe someone can comment, put something in the comment. Could I have just moved 14 inches back here? Like, could I, or do you have to pivot and move? I'm not really sure on the rules regarding that, because if I could just move 14 inches back, I should have just moved 14 inches back. Instead, I'm an absolute dumbass, and you'll see in my turn in a second, I elect to charge the pterodons. Here we go. So I've charged the pterodons, right? This guy's moved out to try and get to heal. But here, I'm going to kill the pterodons, obviously easily. And then he's just going to counter charge with 2 stegodons. That's going to be bye-bye 975 points. So did I have an option to just move 14 down here? If I did, I should have done. But I wasn't thinking straight clearly. Yeah, these guys charge here. Those Saurus are dead pretty much. We get the Oaken thrown off on this guy. He dispels all other spells. This guy charges, kills the champion. and these guys steadfast, stick it out. These guys move up onto the objective here, so that objective's mine, providing he can hold these guys off for the rest of the game, or kill them preferably. Yeah, so this is a photo of the dead Saurus block. So these guys overrun, Steg overrun, it pops, that's where he finishes, reform, and these guys moved up and chipped some wounds with the poison javelin. That's what happened. They poison javelined another wound off. Yeah, so Tom's turn 4. So this is basically my right flank now, going from position of strength turn 1 and 2 to folding, just completely capitulating. Double steg to the face. This guy, I won't spoil things too much, but yeah, impact hits. Nobody gets to swing back. Carnosaur dies. Really bad play. This guy fails a charge into my Saurus block, which, thinking about, I thought at the time that was like really lucky for me, but actually he's charging into a spear block, right? If need be, if I'm feeling like it's a bad time, I can just challenge with a champ and hold him off for 1 round, and then we've got supports from Rippers to come in. But actually he's charging into AP 3 Initiative 5 Saurus warriors with attacking full ranks. So it would probably be probably good for him that he has failed actually. Yeah, that's a picture of the board as it stands. So we have this horrible combat over here. Slan moves behind the skinks. This guy moves out of line of sight of my Taurosaur. These guys move out of line of sight of my Taurosaur, which overran from the previous round. Islan does some divvy magic on my... No, sorry, it's a breath weapon. The breath weapon kills off some Ripidactyls. Obviously they're frenzied, they don't care. We kill some more Saurus, and he's steadfast. So my turn 5. I missed off some photos here of movement, but there wasn't really a lot going on. Stegodon moves round to get some poison javelin shots off on the slam, but first of all in the magic phase, my little druid hero, casts Spark and causes like 3 wounds to the slan, or 4. I can't remember how many wounds he starts with, but he's got 1 wound remains. Cool model, by the way. Actually, I like that model. Yeah, leaves it on 1 wound, and then the skinks, and between the skinks and the giant bow, we managed to kill the slan. So the bad play with the Carnosaurs, I've kind of recovered those points by getting general and BSB in a magic and shooting phase, which is a godsend actually. This Ripidactyl charges the Troglodon, who's got 1 wound. Remember the prey scent markers on this as well, so I'm hoping for like an extra 2, 3 would be great attacks onto this guy. Re-rolling to hits on 4s, re-rolling, wounding on 5s, but with lethal strike I just need 1 wound to go through, and this thing pops. There's also a unit of terrors at the back there, so I'm thinking kill it, overrun, and I get 2 units with effectively one charge, which would be great. We don't even need it because we kill this guy, and these guys panic because of this thing dying, and terrors go off the board, which means this guy just gets a reform, which is even better. This guy kills a handful more, and they pass their steadfast again. Looks like they have chipped a wound on him though. He's down to 3 at some point. Yeah, okay, so I because he failed to charge on me, I elected to charge him. We cause 2 more wounds and we break him, but unfortunately we don't catch him. This is an out of place photo. So here Tom's just realised that in order for this guy to reform, this steg here has to overrun. So that's what he does basically. You'll see here, look, he's reformed, he's overrun. But as we go into his turn 5, he declares a charge on the Saurus warriors, who flee in terror, cowardly bastards. And luckily the priest doesn't panic. Yeah, you see he's got the reform on here after killing the Stygiosaur, Troglodon, whatever. My turn 6, I elect to charge probably stupidly actually. I should have buggered off and preserved points, but Ripperdaxel charges side of Skinks. No, he turned to face, so it was front. Actually, I think he failed his frenzy again. He must have done, because I wouldn't have charged the front. He must have failed his frenzy because the general's way over here. Stegodon moves out of line of sight of everything, preserving points. I could have chucked it into Steggy, but if I don't kill it, then I get countercharged by Stegodon, and he's up on the Stegodon wall. So I just moved him safe and looked for a giant bow. So he'll get a giant bow shot. No, I'm actually trying to. Yeah, anyway, giant bow shot, whatever. But he doesn't hit. Old Blood kills off all of the remaining Saurus warriors between Raptor and Old Blood himself. The Saurus unit's dead, which means Skinks get the objective. So I'm winning the objective game. These guys rally, but in his last turn he charges my Skinks, who flee in panic again. In terror, sorry. So and I don't think they rally. They continue to run. No, this is the last turn anyway. So yeah, they can't rally. So they're running at the end of the game. So he gets what, like half points for those guys, I think. I think he also kills off. You'll see in the next photo. He also kills off my remaining Ramphadon as well. So he gets the points for these guys. That's the end. That's the end photo. So what have I got left? I've got my general, pretty much on full wounds. I've got the Skinks over here on objective. I've got Stegodon, a giant bow, and I've got a relatively untouched unit of Saurus warriors here, and my priest. He's got bow Stegs untouched, an almost dead Saurian warlord, which I get 25% of the points for, and basically an untouched, well, like down to half. So I think they're dead. Those guys are dead. Yeah, like a half-dead unit of Skinks, which I don't get the points for. So points-wise, I think I'm up by like 700 points or something, which is like it's 12-8 territory anyway. But I do have the objective, so the final score is 15 to me, 5 to Tom, which I think it's probably fair. Although Tom might disagree. Tom probably felt like he should have got more out of the game. I think if he was a little bit more offensive, he probably could, but I don't think his Divvy Magic did as much damage as possibly he thought it would. Plus losing that Old Blood to my Ramphadon's relatively early game massively hampered him. But I could really get round on that on my left flank and get stuck in. He probably pushed up that Saurus block in the middle as well when he didn't need to, like a turn too early, which meant I basically broke through his lines with the Stegodon, could turn, and that enabled me to poison Javelin his Slan off turn 5, which was great for points. So yeah, it was a good game. First game back, first competitive game back. Happy with a 15-5, more than happy with a 15-5. Didn't expect to get a 15-5. So off to winning ways, which is good. Second game I'll post up later in the week is against Chris Legg, Warriors of the Dark Gods. It was a real tough matchup, which we'll go through next time. But yeah, off the mark with a win, which doesn't always happen at tournaments I attend. Certainly don't think it ever happened with Dwarves. Maybe it did, don't know. But yeah, this list is brutal. Absolutely brutal to play with. It's a little bit unforgiving as we've seen there with the Carnosaur, but yeah, I'm not too sure on the rules there regarding me just moving backwards. If I can, I probably should have done. Wouldn't have got charged by the Stegs, but anyway, enough rambling. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next video.